Hello, everyone, and welcome to the distribution maintainers meeting for December 7th, 2021. I have the first topic on the agenda. This is just a recall out from our team meeting yesterday that I'm looking to get a bunch of new labels added, and I have a MR linked that renders those labels out and some descriptions about them. The MR also goes beyond and talks about which of the sections maybe the labels might apply to, but what I'm mainly focused on this week is the wording of the labels that don't exist already yet. So reminder to please take a look and comment on the labeling, and thanks everyone who already has. I don't know if anyone has who looked at it has any questions they wanted to raise here or any comments.
Nothing specifically. I was just curious, could we always merge the MR and then go back and edit the label later?
Oh
Does it
yeah,
work that way? Okay.
yeah. And even for that, if we edit the label, it'll like change it on everything that's been labeled that way. So it's not that we can't change our mind on a label name later. It's more that because we'll be putting it in the GitLab org group, we aren't the only ones who will end up potentially using them. And so it's a little nicer if we can not have to change them too often. Type thing. So
Yeah, it makes sense.
I did want to at least err on the side of making sure people reviewed them before I created them. But yeah, we aren't locked into not changing them.
Nice.
Okay, that's it for that topic then. Over to you, Jason.
It seems like a theme of the month. But in regards to Kate's and all the 122 related items, there's just tons of them at this point across all of the projects that we have that operate in Kubernetes in some way. We need to get this communicated immediately for the operator. We're already making a leap because we have to effectively. There's a number of MRs that we're actually getting unwieldy, to say the least, actually because we were attempting to support prior to 119. And really, OpenShift is already phasing out support for 118 variants anyways. So we need to just move on in that project. What I want to point out is the reason I'm saying 119 is because that's the start of the deprecations, but nothing actually breaks. The Nginx ingress controller that we use requires these changes to be 119. They've just moved on to that set of APIs, and we need to unfortunately catch up because we're so reliant on that. I want to just point out that 122 actually adds some new stabilizations that we hadn't necessarily actually seen. And 122 is the hard cut for others. 123 is on its way, so we're going to have to get moving on our messaging about this. This is just a call out that anybody watching the video see this. I understand there's going to be a bunch of stuff that happens over the next quarter real fast, and we just have to keep up.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, it definitely looks necessary based on the Nginx changes. And yeah, our current minimum is 116, which is way too old at the moment. But 118 would have been ideal at the moment, just because it's still supported by GKE and till March, and EKS till February. But
Yep.
they still support lots. They still support the newer ones, and even though 118 is supported, it's not in the stable channel. Like GKE, you can't create new ones of 118 right now. So yeah, I agree. 119 needs to be what we put forth at this point in order to unblock all of these changes.
All right. Any other comments quick, or we'll move past maintainer discussion issues because there's currently nothing there. Does anybody have anything to add to the maintainer discussion issues? Nope. Okay, then in terms of important changes in the Helm charts or the CNG, first one is we have the option to configure HTTP proxy for pages in place. What was discovered in that testing was a misunderstanding. We intentionally are configuring HTTP proxy. However, when you do that, that doesn't mean it's using proxy protocol. It actually means that it's now going to care about the proxy headers as a part of the MIME headers only request. It's not the same thing. So we inadvertently were testing the application for the use of proxy protocol, which was an oopsie. We have an open issue as a result of this to try and simplify the way this chart is configured. Pages is quite flexible. Unfortunately, that flexibility leads to extreme complexity in terms of how to actually get it to work. We're trying to make it easy to use from an administrator standpoint. When we are also looking at this set of interesting changes, we have now removed the setting of the socket path for Gitly. This results in Gitly and Gitly Ruby actually making use of a directory within /temp. So what they'll do is they'll actually create it and chmod it and then start creating sockets inside of that. Now, there's nothing about this that should result in any kind of failures that we're aware of, but it's a heads up to contributors, maintainers. If you see somebody complaining like, this is weird, it's failing all of a sudden, maybe these folks have somehow some form of SE Linux running that's causing it to freak out. Everything should work as far as we know. We've tested it in Kubernetes. The contributor has tested it inside of OpenShift. So as far as we know, we shouldn't see any problems. And this actually decomplicates all of the things that we need to do to make OpenShift a first-class citizen in terms of the containers on the UBI side. DJ, I'll pass it over to you then.
Sounds good. Yeah. So over on the omnibus side, I have two call out items here from the past 2 weeks. One is a temporary change that went in. In an upstream project here at GitLab, we had forked a Go module in order to make some changes there. And during that, forked an area of the Go source code language itself, really. And during that fork, there had been basically the license had been missed from being added to that repo, and so we had a bunch of failures in Omnibus because, of course, Omnibus really wants to find licenses for everything, and then, if it finds something without a license, it complains. Just due to the failing builds and the time of day, I'm just calling out that we did put in a temporary allow for this piece of software, knowing that it was BSD3 licensed. We'll be taking that out because now the license has been properly put into the forked repo. But just calling out that happened. And then the other one is a heads up change around change that went in around support for Google Memory Store as Redis replacement for Action Cable. There's a little bit of different config you have to provide for Google Memory Store that we've supported in the main GitLab YML for like Puma, for example, and it just usually requires sending through like a blanked out client ID. But it was missing for Action Cable, and so we put that through. And this was an item that had been thrown into the maintainers channel, and I don't really recall what makes it a call out issue versus other things, but yeah, it was one that was called out in the maintainers discussion, and so I threw it in here. That's it for omnibus items that were called out in the maintainers channel. Over to you, Mitch, for operator.
Yeah, two quick ones. The first one we touched on already. In the operator, we merge the MR that migrates to the Kubernetes 122 APIs. So that was a hard cut for us to have 119 as a minimum. All of our tests were already happening on 119 plus, so it wasn't as big of a shift as the charts will be, but we also added that documentation in our installation docs targeting the correct versions of OpenShift and Kubernetes. And then we also merged in the one that sets the operator installation type for the usage ping. So rather than exposing that variable in the charts so that it could be configured from the operator, we decided it best just to have the operator itself patch in the GitLab-operator string for the installation type. So that is there now. I asked in the data channel if there's anything else we need to do in terms of populating that data in the various dashboards, and have not gotten a response just yet, but everything should be in place to have that working. The link to the Slack thread is in the MR. That's it for me.
What I'll toss out here is this one, because we have a few minutes. The only reason I'm adding that bit here. This was a very small change, but effectively it allows us to actually visualize what's going on. This can be altered or expanded in the future to where we could actually say whether we're in Kubernetes or in OpenShift, which would actually give us an install ecosystem idea. Meaning right now the usage ping doesn't tell you other than installation type. So if you use the chart and you deploy it in OpenShift or K8s or something else that's not quite Kubernetes, we wouldn't know the difference. Whereas with the operator, if you installed into, because the operator is altering this on the fly, it can actually detect the environment that it is in and then tell us which environment it is in.
Yeah, so we don't have anything else on the agenda. Does anyone have any questions or any other questions or topics they'd like to bring up today?
All good.
Yeah, that's it. I think we are done with the meeting for today. Thanks, everyone, and talk to you again in the future.
See you, buddy.
Bye.